what's up and welcome back to my channel. It's Kai here. For today's video, I'm super excited because I've kind of been wanting to do a video like this since I started my channel, and that is Anime for Beginners Guide. The first thing I want to just kind of preface is there's really no such thing as an anime for beginners because anime is a medium and not a genre. So I am going to be breaking this down and essentially giving you guys about 2 animes per genre, and we're going to start small just because when you are new to something, you don't want to be overwhelmed. What this also means is I'm probably not going to be including any super old anime that is considered a classic for us seasoned anime veterans like Samurai Champloo or Naruto or Cowboy Bebop or anything super long like One Piece. As much as I love it, as much as I am a huge fan of One Piece and I want everyone to watch it, it's not what this video is about. I am gonna try to do some chapters for you guys, so if you're just looking for a specific genre, you can go ahead and just scrub through the video. And also, I'm not doing every category. I'm thinking of doing a part 2 just so this video isn't super long. So for this video, these are the genres we're gonna cover: action, romance, drama, mystery/thriller, fantasy, comedy. If you guys want a part 2, let me know in the comments down below. I think in that video I'll probably cover like historical fiction or mythology, adventure, science fiction, slice of life, sports, things like that. So definitely let me know, and obviously as we're going through this, let me know if you disagree with any of my decisions, because I would be interested to know. And with that, let's go ahead and get into the video. Okay, besties, so let's just go ahead and start with action. So for my 2 picks for action for beginners, I've first picked Jujutsu Kaisen, just because I feel like right now Jujutsu Kaisen is kind of at its peak. It's great for beginners. It's got all the elements we love in live action. It's got great fight scenes, good character development, powers, I mean, amazing. And also what I think is really good for beginners is the plot is really simple. It's essentially about a boy named Yuji Itadori who is kind of thrust into this world of supernatural sorcerers, and he has to fight cursed spirits, and it's just a really good anime. And it's got great female characters, it's got great male characters, and I just think the animation style is really new and innovative, and maybe not innovative is the right word, but definitely new and something that could draw new anime watchers. And on that note, I know I said only 2, but I would also include Demon Slayer, because I think Demon Slayer in 2020 did bring a lot of anime watchers into the community. And on that note, also Attack on Titan is my second pick for action. This can fall into 100 different categories, I feel like. But this, I feel like, even if you're not an anime watcher, you have heard of this anime, and for good reason. It also has finally wrapped up, so if you're looking for something that is a completed, wrapped up story that is a little bit more complex but still has all the action and just heartfelt moments, but also just like really good character development and just really good fight scenes, Attack on Titan is the anime for you. It's essentially about a boy named Eren Yeager, and he's sort of in this world that is completely isolated and full of titans, and it's him trying to find out how to make his people free, and that's about all I'll say. It's pretty controversial in the ways in which he does it, and it's kind of just a really good anime because right from like the first minute and 30 seconds, you're already thrust into this chaos, this horrible, chaotic, war-filled world. And so I definitely feel like you need to watch this anime. You need to, and it's probably gonna win Anime of the Year this year, and for good reason. Next up is romance. I'm pretty new to romance, so there's definitely others I would recommend, and my favorite romance anime personally did not make it on this list just because I feel like you definitely need to already be in this world, and that is Love is Hard for an Otaku or Wotakoi. I won't go deep into that just since it didn't make it into the list, but I will say these other 2 romance animes are what really got me to start watching more, and that is Horimiya and Love is a War, Kaguya-sama. Horimiya I picked just because I think it's a pretty classic love story for any sort of medium, live action or otherwise. It's basically about two high school kids who are just kind of complete opposites who find their way to each other, and they just make sort of the perfect couple, and it's just them navigating that, and I just think it's really sweet. What I also think is great about this as a beginner anime is there's no slow burn. So many romance animes, basically the finale is just them holding hands or finally kissing. This isn't like that. There isn't a slow burn. The characters get together pretty quickly. So I just feel like if you already are a fan of romance and you're not looking to spend I don't know, 15 episodes waiting for someone to make a move or someone to confess, then Horimiya is definitely the one for you. But if you like a slow burn, then Kaguya-sama Love is War is for you. I really like this anime. I will say, if you do plan to watch in sub, which I watch, but I am not one of those people who will clown on you for not watching. Whatever will get you to watch anime is what you should do. But if you're new to anime and you do watch the sub, do know that at times, the subtitles go really fast. They talk really, really, really fast. Even for me, I'm very good at reading subtitles. I get lost. I've gotten lost a few times in this, but not too often. However, as a beginner, you may find yourself lost at times, so just note that. But what I love about this story is even though it's a slow burn, it doesn't feel very slow burny. Of course, the characters don't profess their love very quickly, but it's very fast paced. It's about basically these two highly intellectual opposites. One, it comes from a very wealthy family and is super smart, and the other comes from a very poor family and is super smart. So you're not only balancing the sort of economical opposites, but it's just like very fun because they are both so intellectual. So their love is more like a game. It's like a game of chess for them. And it's basically about these two trying to get the other one to confess first. And I don't want to spoil much more, but it's really good. The movie just came out, and honestly, it was one of my favorite anime movies of the year, even though I'm realizing now I didn't rank it in the things I watched last year. I also didn't rank another one that someone was talking about, and then I forgot.
Think, Mark!
Oh, a lot. I didn't rank a lot of stuff in my last video, but if you still want to watch my last video, link in the description. It's also up here for you guys. So that's my romance picks. Next is drama. I picked one movie and one show. Honestly, there could be so many that fits in this category. Drama is a category that has a lot of sub-genres in it. But for this one, I picked one of my all-time favorite movies across all mediums, and that is A Silent Voice. This movie, if you want to cry, if you want a good redemption arc, if you want complex characters, and if you also want just a smidgen of romance, this is the movie for you. It is essentially about a deaf girl and a young man who bullied her when they were younger, and sort of his redemption arc to sort of, essentially he gets isolated when he gets older and he sort of realizes the harm that he's caused. But there's just like so much more. There's so many good character dynamics, and it really is just a really good coming of age story, but it's also really, really sad, heartfelt, and it just has everything you're looking for in a drama, I swear. And what's great about this is it's a movie, so it's sort of a one sit down watch, and if you like this, there are tons and tons and tons of more that are quite similar to this. And on another note, and a sort of opposite direction, you have Death Note.
It's like a pun or something.
I think Death Note is sort of a classic. It's one of those that, like Attack on Titan, even if you haven't watched anime, I'm sure you've heard of it. They made a really, really, really awful live action, and if you've watched that, please, 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 I'm begging you, don't write this show off. The live action is not very similar to the anime. In the anime, our main character, our main character, Light Yagami, is not a loser or a social outcast, and Misa is not the popular girl. I mean, she is popular, but instead of him chasing her like in the movie, he sort of kind of ignores her and manipulates her. And it's basically a psychological drama or even a true crime about Light and L, and basically someone who comes into power and what they do with that power and the other person trying to stop them. It's really, really, really deep. And it also has some demons in it, which is I think is a really fun element. But I think Death Note is definitely worth a watch, whether you liked the live action or not. It definitely is worth all the hype. It's kind of a classic. It is probably the oldest anime I have on this list, but I think it still holds up, especially if you love true crime, especially if you like dark psychological dramas. It's really, 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 really good, and it has some great character dynamics, great story arcs, and I think it's sort of like Attack on Titan in that it's sort of what you do when you gain this power and you're trying to help someone, but when it all goes wrong. So yeah, moving on, mystery, a thriller. So I think Erased could also kind of be considered science fiction because it's essentially about a manga artist or writer. He's either a writer or a manga artist. I can't quite remember, even though it is my top 3 anime.
How dare you, sir!
Who is forced to travel back in time in order to stop one of his loved ones from being killed. And in that, he also has to solve the mystery of someone who died or went missing when he was a child. This is one of my favorite animes. I think it has one of the best anime intros of all time. And I just think it's really fun to unravel this mystery. There are other ones that are more popular, that are similar, such as Summertime Rendering. However, I think Erased kind of stays the most true and the most consistent. It's a pretty short anime. I believe it's only 12 or 24 episodes, but it's a really, really quick watch. The art style is a little bit older, but I still definitely think that this is one of the best mystery slash thrillers. It's definitely got a lot of elements in terms of like kidnapping and murder and mystery solving, and it's just really dark, but also it's really fulfilling and really wholesome. And with that, this next one isn't an anime that I would consider in my top 10, top 15, but why I recommend this for beginners is because it includes one of the most classic characters throughout history, and that is Sherlock Holmes. If you love Sherlock Holmes, I mean, you can't go wrong with this anime, and that is the case study of Moriarty. It is essentially a little bit more bromancy, but it's essentially Moriarty's point of view. Also very similar to Death Note, also very similar to Attack on Titan in terms of people trying to do good in a wrong way, which I think is really interesting because you see a side of Moriarty that you wouldn't necessarily see. Obviously, there are other animes about Sherlock Holmes, such as Undead Murder Farce, but I would never recommend that to a beginner because it is a little cuckoo, it's a little wacky. But this one I think is pretty consistent with the tellings of Sherlock Holmes, and I think it stays pretty true to the characters with a little bit of liberties taken. So I just feel like because it's a character we all know, we all love, I hope I hope you love it if you're at the mystery section. I think it's really good for beginners. It's very simple story, but the characters are super complex, which keeps you wanting more. Next up is fantasy. There are so many fantasy animes, so this was really, really hard, but I feel like I did some good picks. Number 1 is That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. It is an isekai, which if you don't know, maybe you probably don't know because you're new to anime. Isekai is essentially about reincarnation. So generally you have somebody who's typically a loser or just not super great in the real world, and they die, most notably from a truck, which is where all those memes come from. And then they are transported into a new world, which most often are fantasy worlds. But why I recommend this isekai in particular is because not just because I have Rimuru right next to me, and not just because it was my first isekai, but because I think it does a really good job where a lot of isekais fail. And that is, it doesn't sacrifice character development in order to be a fantasy anime. It essentially just feels like a fantasy anime. Not gonna lie, I forget a lot of times that Rimuru even died in a past world. And what I also like is because if you are a fan of like Dungeons and Dragons or any sort of fantasy games or novels, you know that slimes are typically like the bottom of the totem pole, but in this world he's not. It also has amazing fantasy elements that we all love, like ogres and dragons and just like super cool combat and fairies and just like so many good fantasy elements, and it doesn't sacrifice the character development. The character designs are also really fun. Classic character designs. It also has some classic tropes without being too annoying. And it has also one of my favorite female characters of all time. If you've seen my waifu video, if you haven't, link down below on the screen as well. Milim Nava. yeah, it's also just really funny. So I definitely recommend this for anybody who loves fantasy because it's gonna have a lot of the classic things that you're looking for in a fantasy. It also, who knows, might get you to like isekai, or if you're like me, it might ruin the entire genre for you. And then next up, also, I don't know if this is older than Death Note or not, so my previous statement may be false. Editor Will, please let the people know if I lied or not. But it's Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
The lie detector test determined you're telling the truth.
If you've ever heard of the app My Anime List, this pretty much consistently stays on the #1. Please don't get it confused with the original, which is just Full Metal Alchemist. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is amazing. It's about essentially two brothers who, in an effort to revive their mother using alchemy, end up losing a part of each of them and trying to regain that part, all while solving mysteries and helping people. I think it's super fun. People have powers, but it's also not too OP. There's some good fights, but it's really just about the character development. It's about the journey. It's a coming of age story. But it still has a lot of fantasy elements that I think a lot of people will love. There's a reason why this is a classic, and the animation style isn't too old to be super turn-offy, so definitely recommending that. And the last category are both two new animes, and this might be the only category where they both basically have come out in the last year, and that's comedy. I think there are tons of comedy anime. However, for me, I'm not super big on just comedy. I like comedy sprinkled here and there, but I don't like it to just be the only thing, and these I think are chef's kiss. If you watched my last video, one of these is what I would consider the anime of the year, and that is Mashle Magic and Muscles. I think this anime is great for beginners because it definitely includes a lot of comedy tropes that are in many animes, like really bad, like low quality like little images, like I'm just gonna have my editor insert some low quality image like of Luffy or Zoro or any other anime character so you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about. It also just is just like very comedic, but also has a really good story. It's essentially about a boy who lives in a world where not having magic is outlawed and he has no magic at all. However, he has really sick muscles. And he basically is like a magician because his muscles are just that insane. And because of the insanity, it just makes the whole show super fun. It's never boring. There's never an episode where I don't laugh at least twice. But I also think it's very similar to other things that you may already like it does have some reminiscence of like superheroes, but it's also kind of like Harry Potter, Black Clover, which is another anime. It's just a really fun and funny anime, and it's got wizards, and it's got some outrageous, ridiculous slapstick comedy. And I just think if you like this anime, you're gonna get introduced to a lot of anime tropes without it being super boring or super annoying. And then next up is Zom 100, which I think is great, especially if you love zombies like me. I love, like, one of my favorite movies of all time is Train to Busan, one of my favorite shows growing up. And in fact, the very first convention I ever went to, Walker Soccer Con, for The Walking Dead. I loved The Walking Dead. I love anything zombies. Funny zombies, scary zombies, World War Z running zombies. I like them all. So if you like zombies and you like comedy, or maybe you don't like comedy but you want to get into it, this is the anime for you. I think it's super lighthearted. It's essentially about a boy who is working in a horrible work environment, which is very known in Japan, and him just being excited that the zombie apocalypse starts because he can get out of that environment, and he kind of goes on these ventures with his crazy friends. And I mean, you get zombie sharks. Need I say more? Definitely a fun anime. It's newer, so the animation style is really beautiful. I think it probably has some of the best art direction of any anime of the last year. So I definitely think it's worth a watch if you like any of those. And the last but not least, I did include some honorary mentions, which may or may not make it in another video if I do a part 2. But if you love superheroes, One Punch Man is a great anime. I know a lot of people who watch no anime at all except for One Punch Man. So if you are somebody who likes The Boys or Invincible or Marvel, this is the anime for you. It's also kind of a comedy, not kind of, it is a comedy. The main character is super funny. He essentially has trained himself to where he is so much stronger than everybody else and can basically take anybody in one punch. So with that, a lot of funny things happen. There's a lot of funny characters. There's a lot of slapstick comedy. There's a lot of great fights. I definitely would say this is an honorary mention. Next one up is one of my favorite animes, top 5 or top 10 animes, Vinland Saga. If you like historical fiction, this is definitely for you. It's essentially about Vikings, but it has some of the best character development. If you love action, but you also don't mind a slower story at times, this is definitely for you. I can't say enough good things. It honestly, of any anime, has some of the best character development, and I mean that with no exaggerations at all. And there's Vikings. And last but not least, this one is a newer anime. It's super underrated, but if you like psychological dramas, if you maybe have already watched Death Note and you're looking for something a little bit similar but not exactly with these sort of fantasy elements, My Home Hero is a great anime. It's about a father whose daughter is put in danger and the lengths he will go to protect her and the family. And I mean, spoiler alert, murder is involved. And it's really just a great story. I mean, you just can't go wrong with an anime like that. We did it. Hopefully this video is not too long. Hopefully you enjoyed my picks. If you watch them, definitely come back to this video. Let me know what you think. If you think that you would have added any more, drop them in the comments. And if you're finished with this video, maybe you can get some other ideas from the comments below. And if you want to see a part 2, including some other things like historical fiction, true crime, adventure, science fiction, slice of life, or sports, definitely let me know because I could go on and on and on. And with that, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!